is the human factor there. I mean, what I say normally, it's always people, process, and technology. So people would always come first, no matter where the technology is. Everyone, I would just skip the introduction part. We're running late, so to respect the time, I'll directly jump into the topic that we have today. Just a brief. I'm Ashish Upreti from Magnet Forensics. We are a technology company based out of Canada. Building digital forensic investigation softwares. We've been helping law enforcement agencies and corporate for almost about a decade now. Uh, okay, so the topic today, automation in digital forensics and incident response. We've had really interesting sessions prior to me, and a lot was covered on the challenges. I would probably not focus a lot here. We all know the current challenges that we are facing in terms of cybersecurity, cybercrime. There was a document recently from MHA. I mean, this is just about a week back where they published a document asking all the states and union territories to basically give them the data on the number of cybercrime incidents that are happening in the state. Alarming results. There was an annexure there in the document which mentions that out of about 60,000 cases which were registered, only about 491 were convicted, which is less than about 1%. Even appalling there is in 18 states out of 18 states had zero conviction cases. Now the problem there is again increasing. The global skill shortage is one thing. Like some mentioned, I mean, we are not here. Nobody can replace the human factor, but how do we basically use the technology to, bridge this gap that we have currently? I mean, less than 1% is something, uh, you know, that's really dangerous in terms of where we are right now. And Shastri sir mentioned there are attacks happening every 11 seconds. I have a very interesting video to play, which I'll do in a bit. So we did a study with IDC where they mentioned that last year, 2021, about 40% of the cases, the entire cases that we were working on were related to ransomware and malware investigation. So that is what I'd like to cover here on the automation part. Again, challenges, then and now. Again, I don't have to speak about this. We all know, where uh, we have come a long way. I mean, there were times, about 10 years back where you would get probably one mobile device or one endpoint in a particular case. We are talking about hundreds and thousands of endpoint in every case with mobile, cloud, IoT devices, all of this data. So this is, evidence has fundamentally changed everything, physical, virtual. Now the challenges with the enterprises lab, again, I'll be covering more on the enterprise side, but also touch a bit of the law enforcement because I see some of you are here from the law enforcement background. So basically the challenges are, how do we reduce the manual touch points, right? Wasting the time, data volume are expanding, there's no sign of stopping the data volumes. How do we respond faster to security events? Mitigating the damage. Shastri sir mentioned going back to basic is really important in these scenarios. How do you get most out of your existing toolkit? There are so many labs out there with uh, a good toolkit in their lab, but are they utilizing the entire toolkit? Because there are, and I would say this out of personal experience. I've worked with a lot of enterprises labs where people have, I mean, they did not, they probably set up an entire lab in a year, and next year they did not have anyone running that lab. So the impacts, time to evidence. IBM has a report recently where they say about. I think I have that in the next slide. So this report says that in 2022, an average of about 277 days to identify and contain a breach. Right, just bringing this 277 to about 200 days would save you about 1.1 million. So this is a recent report from IBM. So now I've already covered a bit of the problems that we have in the cybersecurity landscape that we're talking about. So I'd like to run a small video. Probably a lot of you here would relate to it. It was funny. I mean, there's a different story how I came across this video, but
All right, girls. Now this is your last chance. If one piece of candy gets past you and into the packing room unwrapped, you're fired.
Yes, ma'am.
Let her roll!
Oh, this is easier. Yeah, we can handle this, okay? Listen, Ethel, I think this... I think we're fighting a losing game.
happens within an organization on day-to-day basis. Coming back to the PPT, so I've basically just covered a brief of the problems that we all are facing today. Again, see, coming to the solution, what we need for a response plan to be effective is increase speed, quickly capture crucial evidence to support time-sensitive responses, and increase scale, where we pull, process, and analyze more data from more sources ideally at the same time. So again, I'm not trying to go to a particular tool here, but I'll just skip some of these benefits of a tool. But in general, speaking about automation, we have already have automation in place where you have implemented your EDRs on your SIM and SOs within your organization. And I get this a lot. I mean, where does TFIR automation stand in terms of your existing automation on your SIMs and SOs? So basically, when we're talking about EDRs, and it's more of giving you what and when, right? With the DFIR implemented or collaborated with your EDRs, it will give you how, when, and why in the cases that you're working on. I'll just skip the features part here and come to a sample workflow. So the workflow that I'm talking about here is the first workflow is automating the data loss prevention using parallel collection and processing. Right, in 60% of the companies that have implemented the DLP strategies, 40% have not. So sometimes the largest gains can be attained by automating the smallest processes and the simplest processes. Right. In terms of your enterprises, these are something which happens on day-to-day basis, and I would say fairly easy to investigate because you know the pattern. So anything that is easy to investigate can be automated. When we're talking about from a point of view of law enforcement, cases like child sexual abuse, right? Cases like data theft, insider information. So all these cases, we know the pattern. So all of these cases can be automated where the moment you have an alert that, okay, there is a size of data which is probably being uploaded somewhere, your EDRs in place. So I just go to the current workflow in most of the cases, or the old workflow, where you have an alert, and then the moment you have an alert, you start investigating the endpoints. You investigate endpoint 1, endpoint 2, endpoint 3, and then you process all the data that you have basically extracted, analyze, and report. So all of these tasks is done manually. Now with automation, you're orchestrating the entire response here, where the moment you get an alert from your EDR that, okay, there's a chunk of data that is being uploaded, the entire process would be automated to a level where you don't even have to be involved till the reporting part, unless you go back with this information to your to the senior management or the stakeholder for them to come back saying that, okay, we need to do more investigation in these cases. So here, once we have the alert using automation, DFIR or automation platform, you could automate the entire endpoint collection, processing, then use your own scripts to basically merge that entire data into one case file and analyze. The system would analyze it based on the keywords or whatever you have integrated into the solution and give you the report. So this is the first example that I had on automation. The second one, and the one, the topic of today is automating malware investigation using API triggers. Again, a lot has been covered, how many cyber attacks, what we need to do, and there is one thing, there is a need of, apart from going back to the basics, your risk registers, your identifying your, doing the risk assessment, what sir mentioned, a lot of things that we need to do internally, but apart from that, how automation is helping you. So this is the old workflow where you have an alert, there's an EDR, and your SIM and source solution will notify you of a ransomware attack or a cyber breach. Now what you're going to do is, the first thing that you do is target that one, the zero patient, the one endpoint that you need to investigate first. And when you do that, again, the manual process of acquiring the evidence, seeing what the lateral movement is, and then, process, analyze, and report. So all of this happening manually. Imagine the kind of time it would take if we are considering endpoints in, say, I would say, we are considering in the example about 10 endpoints, but normally it would be 100 or thousands of endpoints, and it will take you forever to basically, analyze the lateral movement. By that time, it would be everywhere in your network. Automation, this is the new workflow where the moment you have an alert using your existing EDR and SIEM solutions, all the rest of the process can be integrated, is API based, where it would automatically collect the data from your endpoint, process it, analyze, and report it. And the last one is the hands-off. Again, this is what Shashit sir also covered a bit, that, the one thing that I feel is missing here in any kind of investigation is collaboration, whether it's law enforcement or enterprises. We waste a lot of time collaborating with each other. The attackers, they have their own forums, right? These guys, you'd be surprised to see that, you're paying people. There are people who you can pay to basically pay for the ransomware, the code. You can pay for people who would basically, carry out the attack. There is a group of people who would basically do, negotiate, from their end with the organization. So they are organized, right? But we are not. So we are still working in the silos, and these kind of events, actually thank DSCI for organizing these events where they bring both law enforcement and enterprises and corporate together to understand what the current scenario is. So in terms of the enterprises, when there are inter-department investigations, if basically an employee misconduct that you're trying to investigate, where HR department reaches out to the IT department for the data. Again, the same thing, old workflow. You have the file, you have your. So if you want to acquire a PSC file from a particular endpoint, right, you'll get a notification, and again, the entire manual task is performed in terms of your extraction, analysis, and processing. With automation, you'd be, again, just the two things. Once you have the file, you know that, okay, these are the PSC file that we need to investigate. You can automate the entire process where you can, again, when I talk about automation, it's not just about, integrating one tool. It is about integrating the entire toolkit that you have in terms of your DFIR toolkit, and also the current scripts that you're using, whether it's your Yara rules or your NT forensic tools that you're using. The antivirus tools that you're using in your environment. So basically, all of that can be integrated into the automation part. Okay, so that's it. I'll be on stall booth number 37. So if you need any further information, I have a lot of information here, but I think we're running out of time, so I'll keep it short. So if there are any questions, I'll take them on booth number 37. Thank you.